Hello.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Addie Tolliver. I'm the Associate Director for the Center for Teaching Excellence at SMU, and I'm happy to welcome you to this session where we're going to showcase our Just-in-Time Teaching and Technology grant um, winners and the initiatives that they have done with the money that they have acquired through their grants. I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction and background what these grants are. This is a partnership between the Center for Teaching Excellence and the Academic Technology team from the Office of Information Technology. So every semester, right before the semester start, we open up a call for applications for these grants. Our funds are limited, so usually we try to evaluate the type of request that comes in. We offer up to $500 per applicant. And initiatives related to technology, or it could be anything, artifacts and things that they can use in the classroom. So they're not necessarily like software, but a lot of the times they are software or technology. But it might be, in a case, for instance, from Alejandro, something that is not technology related, in the sense that we think of electronic technology. But the goal of the program is to reduce the barriers for faculty acquiring materials that are needed right before the semester starts. So we try to make the application form very easy to navigate. It's just a simple paragraph. We want to know more about the class. We tend to grant money to folks that can show that the materials might be used for multiple semesters or most amount of students. If a grant, the amount is not that much, maybe we allow the money for something that's going to be utilized just for one semester, but faculty, if the $500 are not going to be covering the whole amount for what they want to purchase, the department can go in and kind of complement that amount. But it has to be through department funds. It cannot be through a personal credit card. That's the only way we can kind of reconcile the budget at the end of the month. For today's session, we have three of your previous award winners. We have Miroslava Detcheva from World Languages and Literatures, that is going to be showcasing Nearpod and Quizlet. We have Alejandro from Biological Sciences, featuring human fossil replicas. And we have Bradley Warren from Applied Physiology and Sport Management, featuring some timing systems. So I'll give it up to Mira, and she'll get started. If you guys have any questions, let us know through the chat or ask the questions yourself. We have a little bit of time, and that's it.
Okay. Hello everyone. Could you see my main slide? I kind of like to normally keep the outline of the slides so I can see them, but could you see the entire slide and read? Yes, perfect. So I will speak briefly about how I use Nearpod, and mainly Nearpod and also Quizlet in my language courses. I'm not here to give a detailed overview of the learning platforms because I'm not their, sales rep. My focus is really how I use those tools, how I use technology to combat distractions in the classroom and to create more engaging learning environment, especially when I'm teaching courses that are language courses that by default should be very interactive and engaging. But however, we know we don't live in a perfect world, and unless we as instructors, professors make an effort, that's not going to happen, right? And so as requested, I just would like to mention the basics before I go into, my reasons to ask for this grant. What type of students I work with? Well, actually, I work with undergrads and professional students, adult learners. So I teach different levels of face-to-face courses, but let's say I'm going to mainly have in mind my language learners. I teach in the Spanish department. So I'd say beginners, intermediate, upper intermediate level. And I also created the certificate program for attorneys, paralegals, legal professionals who complete a certificate program online. So I'm talking about our undergraduate students, professional learners, and then face-to-face and online. So this will work for any of these situations. Typically, I have 15, 16, 17 students in, face-to-face because, well, the philosophy of a language courses, obviously interaction, involvement, small ratio faculty to student. We don't want large classes. I mean, that's just not a good approach. So how my online certificate program has had the most 18 at a time. However, because this is, an upgraded learning platform, I can use it over and over and over again. I may not work with, a large number at a time, at once. Like I don't teach in an auditorium with 100 students. However, I can use this repetitively in different sections, so multiple sections throughout the semester or multiple sections online. Um, how often can I use this? Well, very flexible. It could be used as long as there is money. Now, I will go into that. When I first researched the cost of those two the upgraded version of Nearpod and Quizlet, I thought, oh, $160 is enough to upgrade both. Well, Nearpod has become very sophisticated, and I guess they're investing a lot in it, but that leads to increasing price. So I had in order to upgrade Nearpod, which is the more technologically sophisticated platform for what I need, I had to use my grant for that. However, Quizlet is good enough to where I can even use the free version for now to integrate it into Canvas and other things. So that's the basics. So I use a little bit of money. Well, I guess the negative of this will be, right, $160 for one platform. If you have to keep on renewing it, I mean, it is a bit much, but it just depends how much you really want this. So, okay, so that was, the basic questions. And then here you can see, uh, so I'm going to pose the question. Well, but, we have so much technology. We already use Canvas. In our language classes, we already have platforms where they go do homework. So why more things? Is it just to be trendy? Am I trying to, just bombard my students with all kinds of technology? No, so this is different. So my inspiration was I often have conversation with my colleagues. Well, I'm just so tired of these laptops and they're not paying attention. Should we ban laptops? Should we not ban laptops? Don't use your cell phone. And right, but that's like a battle that I don't know that we could win. We could be as punitive and naggy and put all kinds of rules, but I don't think that we could completely, I don't think that we can stop the use of technology. And then I was thinking, is it even smart for me to invest my time and effort into trying to figure out how to conduct in 2024 my language classes without laptops, not to engage the cell phones, make them put them away in backpacks. And so I said, okay, I mean, I'm good with discipline, but then what can I do to use technology to my advantage? And so spatially to be able to gain control of the classroom, not have these laptops be like a barrier, not have the smartphones be like a distraction tool, but actually use them in order to take over my students and draw them into the classroom. And so my number one, learning platform is Nearpod. And then I've also found a very, in my opinion, efficient ways to integrate Quizlet into Canvas, into my assignments. And so the question was, smartphones and laptops, should they be our friends or foes? And by our friends, I mean the instructors, right? And so, and just quickly before I really, show you what I do, just like a very basic example. So why, just to reinforce, reiterate on my inspiration again, is because I feel like those two tools, because I'm typically resistant, with I'm not the type of my pedagogical approach has not always been, to be with games and fun. I try to be very structured, but then I was like, but you know what? I need to adjust. I need to adjust to my students. I need to adjust to how they learn. And I need to, just get out of my box and what's good for me and what I like, and just kind of explore other opportunities. And I think it's been paying off. So how to make my in-class experience more engaging, and more interactive and limit distractions. And by distractions, again, that's the cell phones, the laptops, which I have not banned, and I'm not willing to do that, right? Because then I'll have to give up all kinds of other things. And so and in addition to that, I think that especially now, maybe we'll see with my example with Nearpod, to me, what's important, I mean, I know that's a degree, these students are going to graduate, they have GPA, we have to assign a grade. But personally, to me, the formative assessment is a lot more important than measuring at the end what they know, and especially what they do not know. And so I feel like my job is to identify gaps, like in the process of learning, and then adjust before I try to measure, not just, go through my motions and then finally measure and be like, oh, okay, so they don't know A, B, C, and D. Okay, great. And now what, right? It's over. So I think that these learning platforms, I don't use them just for entertainment's sake. I use them to, as I said, to connect with the students, to bring them in, to get their attention back. And then for me, I'm able to measure, right? For them, it's fun. For me, it's formative assessment, right? Different experiences. And then finally, hopefully, I mean, that's not a secret. Everyone here is very experienced, probably has more experience than me. But I used to, if I'm honest and just, reflect on my teaching styles, I used to be more, formal, more, like try to be serious. I write a lot of documents. And then someone once told me, okay, this is a good lesson plan, but, where's your visuals? Why don't you include more illustration and images? And I'm not gonna call anyone out here, and so I was like, why do I have to make things fun? This is college. And then I was like, you know what? Like, let me just back up and say, oh, okay. Like, this is not about me. This is about the students. And if like me trying to, change my style and incorporate more audio visual style in the learning process, and if that helps all the different learning styles and my students like it, that's my goal. And so all of this said, I'm going to start with Nearpod because as I said, I use the money mainly for this. Someone will say, oh, so Nearpod is a learning platform. Someone may say, is that like Kahoot? What's new about it? I haven't really used Kahoot. I've seen it being used, and I know that it's like games and trivia and stuff like that. I assume, because again, I haven't really compared them scientifically feature by feature, but like I did research, I couldn't really see, but in my opinion, Nearpod is more helping teachers to organize their classroom, whether it's, face-to-face or online. Kahoot, again, I may be wrong. It's probably more like having fun elements to learning. So I really like Nearpod. If you have the full side of Nearpod, I mean, you can have Google presentations instead of PowerPoint. Then you can sync in with Nearpod, and Nearpod has any type of features you can think of that you could then sync in with your Google Slides, and then you can broadcast that PowerPoint, not PowerPoint, sorry, you can broadcast your interactive presentation where you can control it, and everyone goes through your entire lesson, and then you can pause and make and do a task, and they have to engage, and then you also see the results. So that said, I want us to do just not an experiment. It's not an experiment for me, but let's say some of you have never dealt with this, and even if you've had, okay. So what I would like you to do is, and I'm gonna, be like I'm gonna treat you like students. So, everyone has a smartphone, right? You cannot tell me no. The only people that do not have smartphones are my parents, and they're in Canada. They're not here. So they refuse to get a cell phone. They've lived in Canada for 20 plus years, and they do not have cell phones. You do. So what you will do is, because I guess I'm probably taking over your computer, but that's fine because I don't believe you don't have a smartphone. You will get your smartphone, and I want you to go to nearpod.com. just nearpod.com. You know how to spell it, right? And then for me, it always has join a lesson, like you're a student. And do you see where it says join and enter code? Could you enter this code? Okay. So I'm gonna wait till all of y'all are there. You can come up with funny names. Again, this is just like I'm showing to you how I can instantly, effortlessly grab attention right before there's a tedious, well, if I perceive that, oh, this lesson, it could be just, okay, very boring, tedious. How can I like keep their attention? They're behind their laptops. Who's listening to me? Who's not listening to me? Give them another document. Boring. So I'm waiting. So it's like what all of y'all need to be there. I'm gonna count. Come on. Pick your name. I need more, 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 more. Come on. It's gonna be fun. There you go. Perfect. Few more. Addie, are you there? Okay.
I'm there. I was
Okay.
the first one to
One,
join.
two. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, maybe one more. So I also want you to like observe your emotions. Like, are you feeling like, or oh, what is this gonna be? Am I gonna just what thoughts are going through your head? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we need one more. Maybe the person doesn't have a smartphone, or maybe it's like the student that will try to hide in the corner. But
I'm
since
joining. It's just taking a moment.
okay. All right. And so this is the thing. I always tell my students, you don't have to put your real name like last time. They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, if you don't want, to be shown there. Oh, I want my name to be there. I want everyone to know how I'm doing. I was like, okay. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should I wait a couple more seconds or? So once you put your names, you have to hit join.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I'm there.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. I probably have to start. Is that okay? Okay, so I'm gonna start the game, but I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds. So you're gonna see 5 questions. They're multiple choice. You don't have to type. You have a few seconds to read the question and then pick the answer that you think is the correct answer. And it's only 5 of them. So I couldn't, so look at the question, read it, pick your answer, then it will count 1, 2, 3, and then the next question, there are only 5. Okay. So if you're somewhere where you cannot play a sound, but the music is amazing, you'll see. So.
This is embarrassing. Sorry.
I agree.
I didn't ask you to conjugate in Spanish, that's for sure.
Good thing the dean isn't here or something. That would be terrible. So I guess does it not move on to the next question until everyone has answered?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. No, I mean, yeah, yes. There's all kinds of things that you could do. I'm going with the simplest. Students love this more than you can imagine.
Oof, another one. Shame on us.
Yay, good
Come
job,
on. I mean,
Brandon.
did y'all see the little, yeah, that's where the competitiveness. Okay. So,
The music is really
oh
good,
yeah,
actually.
yes, the music is the best thing ever. Um, that's my next task is I really would like to figure out if I could pick my own music. But and so I how am I doing with time? I just have a few more. I can go faster through the rest, but so there's so much more to this, but as I said, I'm not their sales rep. I do this when there's actually a really important concept that I'm teaching, and I feel like everything else is discouraging, and they feel tired, like mentally. And this is just does miracles. And it could be as sophisticated or as simple as you want. It's not for me just let's play games and, because I don't know what else to do in the classroom. It's like really engaging. Like the other day, I got bored myself and I was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. So I said, I'm going to stop it after the next two questions. And they're like, no, do not dare to stop this. We were doing predator versus imperfect. This is like one of the most, challenging things. So I do that. Then I don't want to like spend way too much time, but the other one that I use, Quizlet, is they're getting to where Nearpod is, to where you have that live, you can take over and you can interact, like they call it meeting point, but I don't think they're not as advanced technologically yet. But I love Quizlet, not to assign them homework. So I teach attorneys, paralegals from all over the United States, and I mean they're as serious as they could be, and I integrate Quizlet into my Canvas assignment. So the degree program, sorry, not degree, the certificate program is through Canvas, but then as long as you list any sites that you use, in your syllabus, you can integrate them. So I have my own account. I do the sets for, let's say, Spanish for legal professionals. And then, for example, this is not from the legal course, but like, for example, we were doing writing, prep for writing. And what I do is I scaffold my writing prep. I will do like a Quizlet set. So this is how I've integrated my Quizlet links into my assignments for my language students in Canvas. So I would say, okay, this is the assignment. Step one, go and review how I use the imperfect to talk about, different statements in the imperfect. And they do like flashcards, they can do matching, they can do whatever. Then I said, okay, step two, check if you retain any of this. So now you actively fill in the blank here. Then it will be like step three, go through the 15 flashcards, focusing on this. Go once or twice, 3 times. They prep the vocab. Then I ask them, okay, answer these questions incorporating your vocabulary in that. So I scaffold my assignment instead of saying, okay, review, go to the lesson and review vocabulary, and then start writing and use the vocabulary. Okay, well, that's easy, easy to say. Okay, go there and review. No, I tell them, okay, I think what they need to know. I prepare my sets. They're excellent. Quizlet is excellent. And then I integrated. And then at the end, I was like, now write about this. And they incorporate every single skill that I've practiced until then. And yes, I want to finish because I don't want to take any more of your time. What I think there's the negative, it costs. Here and there are students, especially for Nearpod, that are shy, or they don't want to be exposed, right? So they were like, oh, my computer crashed. Oh, I dropped my cell phone in water. It's in the toilet right now. So, you know what I mean? They like, and I understand. I'm like, okay, pair with somebody. But I mean, I don't want this to be like, okay, you're shy, don't participate. No. So here and there, you gotta be aware of if a student really uncomfortable. So how were you feeling? I don't know. Maybe you can tell me. So the cost and the occasional shy student, other than that, it's you really like can revive the classroom, and it's effective. You see what they know, what they don't know, they learn, they remember, and it's really exciting. And I like finish my class, and I feel so good. So yeah, that's it. So yeah.
Thank you, Mira. Then if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and ask now, or we can move on to Alejandro, or we can ask at the end. Up to you guys.
I just have a quick question, if that's okay. Thank you, Mira. This was really interesting. I was just wondering, I mean, I have many questions, but I guess I can ask you in the department. One main question that I have is, what are what does the paid version get you that the free one doesn't? I guess what prompted you to say, okay, I really need this, because most of these, Kahoot and all the other ones, have some sort of a free version, and also I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask it anyhow. So once you get the subscription, the one that you got, I presume it's for 1 year, but that's only yours. That's not departmental, right? So those would be the two that I have.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, especially with Nearpod, they make it to where it's almost like with the free version, you get like a trailer for a movie instead of the whole movie. Storage. You have to keep on erasing previous sets. So like when I was using the free one, I had to keep on erasing something else before I created a new activity, because all of these take space, within the program. And so if I wanted to keep them, and if I want to do more, I guess, more sophisticated assignments, because this is really just like one tiny little thing. I mean, this is if, like, let's say we didn't have Canvas, I could use Nearpod to manage all my classes. It is absolutely amazing, the features that they have, and they've been developing so fast, like that you have to continuously, they're adding all kinds of features that maybe they were not there 6 months or a year ago, right? And all this uses space, like I guess cloud, I mean, you have to pay to Apple to store your pictures. So I think it has to do with storage space, not having to keep on erasing to add new material. And also I think that some features that are more how to say, like where you have a better understanding of what's going on in the classroom, or like keeping progress of students, they would say, well, you have to upgrade for that. So you may run into an issue to where it's like, no, this doesn't come with the free version. Quizlet, you can do enough, but I'm not like limiting myself to fun. I'm like, oh, I want to manage my classroom. I really care about how we interact in the classroom. I don't assign like homework there or like do your flashcards. No, it's like, sort of integrating it and really trying to like sort of nudge them and be like, okay, come on, let's learn. And they don't take it as something tedious, right? They really get into the learning process. And then I guess it's up to I don't think that, I mean, I could share. No, I actually don't know. Like, I don't think, I mean, so for example, with Quizlet, I can any link I share, I can share with anyone. And nobody has to have an account. Let's say with Quizlet, they can directly have access to the sets. But yes, I think that this is a personal account. Nearpod, I don't mind sharing it if it's not a violation of any of their policies. Meaning, like, whenever anything I do, I can share. I don't think we can share, multiple professors can share an account unless we want to create a departmental account. Because they do have that. Schools can subscribe. Yes, that's it.
Out of curiosity, maybe this is more for Addie. Has anyone done a similar thing? And which, by the way, I thought that was a great presentation, a really cool resource. Sad I didn't win that game, but it's okay. So Addie, has anyone done a similar thing, but with Top Hat? Do you know if anyone has paid, say, for the Top Hat subscription for their class? I guess, Marilla, maybe you have.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that use Top Hat. The negative part of Top Hat, right, that requires students to pay to use. And this one does not require the students to pay. So,
but I guess one thing that can be done, I guess what got me thinking was what Marilla's doing here is, I know Top Hat has the option to buy a, departmental license or something, but I wonder if you could get a course license. I don't know if they do that, but you pay like maybe $400 for a class in the semester and the students all get it for free,
Yeah, the only thing is we probably would not fund something like that because we also have a subscription to Poll Everywhere, and Poll Everywhere is already kind of something that we have. So
Yeah.
Nearpod is a little
Yeah,
different. And we used to have Nearpod subscriptions for faculty, available for faculty. And it's still counting as an integration in Canvas, but we do this, even the selection process of who's going to get this with an academic technology services director. And so currently Nearpod is not used. One thing that I've always liked about Nearpod too is that when you create a slide in Nearpod, you can create presentations in it. And for the students, imagine this, for the students to access the slides, they have to connect with the class code. But then the slides you're not projecting onto the screen, you project onto their devices. So they must use their devices to access the course content. And as the instructor, you see how many students are actually connected to the lecture.
Right.
Which that's the feature that I've always liked the most on Nearpod, is that you can force the students to be in that tab at least. But I mean, they can always click out of the tab, but then you can see how many students have clicked out because they're no longer there. So it's
So it'll show actually how many have the window
open,
shown on the desktop, not just open, but I guess on front or whatever.
It used to. I'm assuming that still does, but that was the feature that I liked the most, that made it different from Poll Everywhere, which Poll Everywhere you could, integrate the Poll Everywhere poll into a PowerPoint slide, but you're still kind of projecting that onto the screen, and you're not, I mean, it's only at the time that the students are participating in the poll that they're going to be engaged. You can kind of tell that they're getting engaged by the number of submissions. And this one was a little different. So, but it's interesting to see these creative uses of these tools, right? And if it's something that, if a lot of faculty want that stuff, we can certainly communicate with the academic technology team about purchasing. But Top Hat, I know that some faculty use, but it was one of those things that the features are very similar to Poll Everywhere. And we already have Poll Everywhere.
And I don't want to take any more time because I know but like Top Hat is just, it's a good question because my brother teaches engineering advanced classes in Canada, and he works with hundreds of students. They're public school. They don't take attendance. He cannot mandate, but he loves interaction. He uses Top Hat every day at 9 a.m. They have to sign in, and he gives them a few questions that he goes in pajamas or on a bus or wherever you are, answer those my questions. 1 point for answering, 1 point for being correct. But my point is, you can use this. It doesn't have to be a language or like, oh, this is so cutesy, not my style. He teaches really like difficult engineering courses. And he's also like trying to bring in those students because like he cannot mandate attendance. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Go ahead, Alejandro.
Okay, awesome. And I guess before I start, just one more note maybe for everyone in case people don't know, since this is a CTE talk, is with Poll Everywhere, what's nice is they've added a geofencing feature so that students must be within proximity of the classroom to answer the poll, and they can't get the answer from someone in class, through text. So that's nice. My only gripe with Poll Everywhere, and I'm going to push for this, is that we can export grades to Canvas. One day we can do that, and that would be amazing. That's the one thing.
I know that would be great if it was an integration, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm Alejandro Debrat. I'm in the biology department, and I teach several classes. The two classes that are relevant here are an introductory biology 2 class. This is basically the second half of the intro bio course that all of the biology majors take, which are mostly pre-med students. And this is when their hopes are high and they think they're going to be doctors in the future. And part of my job is to crush their dreams. But really, the main part of my job is to get them excited about biology. I love biology. I really want to I'm trying hard to not just do the traditional lecture. So one thing I've done is I flipped my class for that. I flipped the lecture for that. So it's recorded. And then in class, we get to do more fun things. And one of the fun things that I wanted us to start doing is to do little demos in class that would typically be done in a lab. So to make the lecture a little bit more interactive. So one thing that I think is very helpful for students, we spend half of the course talking about evolution and the history of life, and we talk about human evolution. So I'm going to share just a quick slide here And let's see, Addie, do you know if I can share from an iPad if that option is available?
You should be able to try that out. Are you getting blocked?
I got it. Yeah. Sweet. So let me see if I get prompted for this or not. Trust. Well, it's okay. I have a backup. For whatever reason, it's not prompting me to do this. So let me share my regular screen. And I'll give you all just a visual of this one lecture where we talk about human evolution. And we talk about differences in certain traits, certain physical characteristics between different human species and extinct human species. So this is just a reconstruction here in the first slide, the title slide, a reconstruction of 3 different individuals, 3 different species of extinct humans, including Homo sapiens there on the right. These are all reconstructions based on actual fossils. And we go over, in this lecture, we go over a lot of different things, including, we really focus on the skulls. So I'm just going to click through some of the slides. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit through a human evolution class, but we talk about what some of the key fossils are that show the progression from more chimpanzee-like to more human-like apes. And we bring up some of these guys. You all may know Lucy, which is Australopithecus afarensis, still very chimp-like. And then in our genus Homo that we belong to, basically, these are our very close cousins here. They all have the same H initial there. So you can think of it as like the same last name in a way, but different species. So these are different skulls that we look at. And I always found it misleading to just project to show these images in class because students don't really appreciate the size differences here, right? These aren't to scale. It's very hard to find images of these skulls to scale. Because one of the things y'all may know, let me ask you all this. Does anyone know what is one of the main features that is changing and evolving in the human lineage leading up to humans? Anyone know or want to take a guess? As far as a physical trait that is changing, and you can kind of see it on this slide, but not that well, actually.
Smaller skulls.
Yeah, the skull size, and it's actually increasing in size. And so one of the things that you really can't appreciate well here is how that skull size increases. So what I did is I used the JiTTT grant to get some dollars to buy these really cool replicas of skulls. And so I've been just slowly but steadily amassing a collection of these skulls. And so here on the screen right now, and let me unblur my screen so it's not recognizing these as faces. And so it's blurring the background. So here, this skull right here would be a more ancient species, this would literally be an ancestor species to us, Homo heidelbergensis. And this is the 100, so Homo heidelbergensis lived around, this is probably 400,000 years ago, this particular skull. This one here is a Homo sapiens skull that was alive around 160,000 years ago. And so very similar looking in a lot of ways, but one thing you can tell if I hold them side by side is this brain case difference, right? You can see that size in the brain case is greater in Homo sapiens, and that's a very Homo sapien feature. The brain case was becoming larger to accommodate a larger brain, which then allows us to do all the things we do, including have a Zoom meeting about these just-in-time grants. And students can't really appreciate that though on screen. And I show this in class, and I think even just showing this from the front gives students a much better idea of the skull, of the brain case size difference. And then I tell them I don't pass these around because unfortunately these do cost a bit. The one, this one that I'm showing right here, actually, let me see if I can share my screen again. Because I have this on one of the slides. This is just a screenshot from the company I get these from, which is Bone Clones. And this one particular one for Homo sapiens is $396 plus shipping. It comes out to under 500, which is nice, with these just-in-time teaching grants being right around that level. So they're expensive. I don't want to pass them around, but I do tell students, hey, if you want to come up after class and look at these and touch them, compare them, the students that do take me up on that, I feel like leave with a much better idea of the size of these fossils and the differences in appearance in these fossils. Here's another one that I got through another just-in-time grant. Actually, these two both were both of them together under 500, so that was nice. But this is an even more primitive form. This would be an Australopithecus like Lucy, but different species. And you can also see the brain case difference and how much smaller this skull was. These individuals were maybe like 3 feet tall. So I feel like students walk away, those that come up and look at it, even those that are looking at them from their seats, leave with a much better idea of the size differences of these guys. And those that come up and feel them, I feel like leave with that tactile experience that helps reinforce learning. So yeah, it's been really nice to be able to have these. I also use these for an evolution class that I teach, which is an upper level class. And one of the things we look at in the evolution class is we go through scientific literature. So it's a big thing that I love doing is I love actually looking at scientific papers with students, reading them together, discussing them together. I have students present on these papers. And here's a paper looking at the most ancient Homo sapiens fossils that have been found, which, believe it or not, humans have been around for 300,000 years. So these are the 300,000-year-old skulls. And we talk about how do we identify these as Homo sapiens? And it has a lot to do with the brow ridges here, as well as the cheekbones and also the teeth in the lower jaw. These figures here compare the brain case size and the facial features. And when we do these papers and talk about human evolution in that class, which is next level, and we spend a lot more time looking at the traits, it's so much nicer to be able to refer to the brow ridges on this. And here I do pass this around because it's a smaller class. The intro bio class is like 100 students. We do talk about the cheekbones. And so these just make for a much more engaging lecture and a much more, I think it reinforces the learning that these students are, the learning of the material by the students. And so it's been a great around, an awesome resource, and love CTE for the opportunity to get these teaching aids for different classes. So that's it. I don't know if y'all have any questions. I'll keep it short.
I have 2 quick questions, Alejandro, if that's okay. Thank
Yeah,
you. This
absolutely.
is really fascinating. I was just going to ask you, out of sheer curiosity, what are these made out of? Because it seems like in some of the images that you've shown, it's some material on top of a plastic base. Yes, that one. And then
Yeah.
also,
So this is, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask too, so that way I can mute myself. And then the other thing, again, out of sheer curiosity, is you said that you don't distribute it in class because they get pretty expensive, and and I understand why you wouldn't want to do that. But you said you extend an offer to your students to come and hold it and touch it. And so I was wondering how many students take you up on that offer. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So starting with the last question, it's only it depends on the class, right? A handful, I would say, of students that actually come up. It's not half of the class or anything. It's the really nerdy ones that don't care. They know that if they're coming up after class, other students are going to think like, wow, they really like this stuff, and that's pretty nerdy. So it's the ones that are most interested, which is nice because then it's not a lot of students having to handle these. And these are made out of a resin, just a plastic. And so the black actually is just painted in. This is the part of the skull, the fossil specimen that was not there, that they filled in just by taking a symmetrical, by making a symmetrical half. And so it's all the same material, just painted over, and it's pretty resistant. It'd be hard to break these, but I still don't want students to figure out how to do that.
That's fascinating. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Awesome. All right, Bradley.
All right, well, I'll keep it real short. Hold on one second. Try and get my screen up. So for my presentation, for my just-in-time teaching grant, can everyone see my screen there? Okay, perfect. Trying to see if it's there we go. So just being limited with all the pieces there, I applied for a timing system. I teach a sport and technology class. It's a lot with we look at a lot of different things, but a lot of it's coaching application. So what we do is, like all of us, we have a lot of barriers. So, with CTE providing this, it was a wonderful piece. So timing systems can be super expensive. So with that said, there we go. I had to go ahead and find one that was within the $500 because if I went over it, the department would say no because they can be anywhere between $4,000 and like $10,000. Like some of these really, the ones with these timing gates and all this type of stuff. But I got a laser timing system where we have a clock that's accurate down to the thousandth, and then just kind of a quick little mirror that kind of bounces back and forth that the laser kind of comes through. So what I did with my whole students is I went in with one lesson. We went ahead and talk about on why a stopwatch isn't always just, going old school with a stopwatch on how there's an error rate. Everything down to like typical error rate of 7 to 10%. Like just as an example, you could have a 40-yard dash, and then you might have, just you might show that you actually have a faster time. Like a stopwatch would show a faster time than what is actually happening. So with that higher error rate, you're kind of showing. You might be saying, hey, you're getting faster. And that's if you're accurate and consistent, where they might actually be going ahead and getting slower with that particular stuff. So with my whole assignment I did with the reason I love this one is it gave me a chance to go ahead and talk about this, but then I take this one step further and everyone gets to play and design something with this timing system. So what they'll do is they'll design a practice or a skill that they want to go ahead and utilize this for. And then I have them talk about and describe what is it supposed to do, what's the design, how would they go ahead and set it up? Is there a pre-test? Is there a post-test? What data do they want to collect? What do they want to compare? How are they going to go ahead and use that? And I wanted them to go ahead and be detailed with everything that they go ahead and do, because I just don't want it to be like some of our other assignments where we read and then they are able to, with some short quizzes, they can go ahead and multiple choice. With other ones, they have a little bit of application. When this is more of a deeper application type of base, because I wanted to go, they can go sport specific as long as they can go ahead and explain that how it transfers. That's on how they all work with it. So one student that I gave feedback with was this is just what she said is the assignment introduced me into something I was not familiar with. I like having more precision without the human error, to have more consistent time to kind of work with planning my practices to make it a little bit different. So I'm just wanted to go ahead and, since we're running short of time, I just want to show two quick designs. So we have several different designs, and these were 2 track students. They're actually student athletes, and they wanted to go ahead and do something a little bit different, but they would have this whole design where you would kind of have long strides going across, jogging from one court to the side of the other, and then kind of doing an X pattern. And they just divided it into, is there a difference in kind of knowing on how it feels the first time, taking a break, and then doing it a second time versus going through the whole course twice, and then looking at, are they going to go ahead and be tired in between, or that way they can start to divide and start to look at different types of data to kind of look at what they wanted to go ahead and do. Because then we're then talking about is whenever we have the design, I'm also like, what types of things do you wish you did better looking forward? And a lot of them would be like, well, with this one, one thing we could do is building upon it, we could see on how interval training would go ahead and change these particular pieces. And they would divide these into 2 different groups. And then they also looked at that they could go ahead and have a little bit of a different piece as well. And then I had a couple other to be football coaches, but this can be used in a lot of different sports. It could be also used for hockey as well. But what they're looking to go ahead and do is they just kind of doing a 5-yard shuttle run where they'll cross the laser, go out to 1, go back to 2, go out to 3, and then run back through and try and get that whole time going through, because they were discussing on hip mobility and all those types of pieces. And then one piece that they looked at after they collected it, they compared male versus female. and within that hip mobility. But then they also were like, well, one thing we could have done is done a pre-test, post-test, and been like, let them run through it, let them see on what they want to do, and then what they'll then they give a coaching piece and see if that person could go ahead and then better their time just after one quick coaching session, because we have about 12 13 groups that go through. So this is kind of a lab that we'll kind of go out and do at Deadman with it. So the great piece is it's one of those things we also talk about in coaching is, you got to set up your athletes to go ahead and fail. That way they can go ahead and learn. So with this one, I gave them all those details, and you could always tell that they weren't going deep enough. So a lot of times within the feedback, like no one ever gets an A, and it's to go ahead and push them to go ahead and think further beyond what they want to do. I don't do it just to fail the kids, and most of them get B's. They actually do a pretty good job in this one, but they just don't dive deep enough into the whole piece, and I'm able to go ahead and write up and tell them all these particular details that they're kind of missing within it. So the reason I love this technology, granted, is it gives me a whole lesson that they can dive deep into and then be creative with it and then make something their own, and then kind of look on how would they go ahead and use these systems, whether it's an open loop, which would be, I did also have one like working on stealing a base and reaction time within those particulars. And then also a closed loop where you could get it even more precision, where they got across the laser twice and able to go ahead and get their time. So, but that's just what I went ahead and put together with this grant. And it was a wonderful thing. It was about $250 for this particular piece. So I'm so thankful. It's a wonderful thing. The students really get into it. They like the creativity, and then they use each other as samples. So they're all kind of learning from other people's things. They get to see on, oh, hey, I didn't thought about this. So they're kind of exposed to a lot of different experiments.
Thank you. Have you heard from any of the students of thinking about purchasing a tool like this for them to go into coaching or for their own practice?
Yeah, I've only had this timing system for about a year and a half, so I haven't had not students as much now because I still kind of have a lot of juniors, and I've only had like one or two seniors, so I haven't seen anyone moving off past this one. This class is not just restricted to upper level majors, so I still have sport management people that are kind of interested, that they want to get an understanding of coaching and all these types of pieces as well. So I haven't had anyone have actually reach out to these, but I kind of introduce them into the higher level things, especially with SPL and also APSM, is they really sport management. They really want to look at more elite level, higher level. I mean, with like going to the Cowboys, the Rangers, all those types of pieces, and then working in semi-pro or professional. But we don't limit it to that. But at least they're trying to go ahead and start looking at these particular types of systems. And I'm kind of working with Dr. Davis to kind of see if I can utilize one of the older, more expensive systems that they've used for other running training data when they were collecting those. So then I'm hoping to go ahead and use that to kind of show them what they can go ahead and do and on how all that works as well. But that's a work in progress at this point. So.
Well, thank you very much. Anybody else has additional questions?
I just have one more question, if that's okay. Thank you, Bradley. This was, again, very interesting. My question has to do with, you said that there's there's a huge range in price tags for these gadgets. And so I'm just wondering, the pricier ones, I think I heard you say they can go up to 10,000, possibly I misunderstood that, but the more pricier ones, whether 10,000 or however many, a couple thousand, what are they more accurate? Do they have other features, more bells and whistles? I just don't know how to justify that difference if I heard the upper.
And no, and I didn't address it, and that's a great question. Like with some of them, especially the ones that are really on the higher end, like with this one, like these, like you probably couldn't really tell from the picture because it wasn't to scale, but the laser and the mirror are on tripods, but I actually have to pull out chairs to make sure they're high enough. Because if people took a stride over the laser, they would actually potentially not trip the laser to go off. With these other ones, they have higher tripods that are a lot more durable. They're very adjustable. on what they want to do. And then they also have what they call gates. So what you could actually look at is acceleration from, and if you wanted to go ahead and set each timing gate like 5-10 yards apart, whatever distance, you could see acceleration. If you're doing a 40, you can see their acceleration from 0 to the first 10, the second 10, third 10, and then through the finish. So that's the part I'm trying to see if I could go ahead and figure out within those parts and pieces. But that's kind of like the very high end pieces, and that's why I'm, some people not everyone wants to share their toys, when it's that much money, and I totally understand that. So that's why you have a lot of those, like the 4,000. They have different pods. They can go ahead and send a more Bluetooth single. This doesn't really kind of have any data collection type of piece to it. At this, I'm still trying to figure out all the bells and whistles. It's a little bit harder because it's from China, but it's been working out great. But it's the language barrier and a lot of it, and trying to figure those things out has been a little difficult. But we've been making it work really well and getting some really good pieces to make it work. So
That's fascinating. Thank you.
yeah.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. And wait for an email right before the semester. That's where you'll be able to apply for your grant and through the CT website as well. Thank you, everybody.
Great.
Thank
Have
Thanks,
a great
Abby.
day.